Good morning, students. Today's topic is how do we know? How do we know about the past? How do we know about the things which had happened in the past? How do we know about the events which took place in the past? Definitely, the records help us to know about all those things which are we reading about in history. So, the historians also got many of the things from these records only which they wrote in the books, and today we are reading about all those things. So here, if we will talk about the administration produces records, so the official records of the British administration were one of the important sources. The British believed that the act of writing was important. Every instruction, plan, policy, etc. had to be clearly written and preserved. Hence, British set up record rooms attached to all administrative institutions. Specialized institutions like archives and museums were also set up to preserve these important records. The British also felt that all important documents and letters needed to be carefully preserved. So they set up record rooms attached to all administrative institutions. Letters and memos that moved from one branch of the administration to another in the early years of the 19th century can still be read in the archives. Here it is given in your book also. In the early years of the 19th century, these documents were carefully copied out and beautifully written by calligraphists, that is, by those who specialized in the art of beautiful writing. By the middle of 19th century, with the spread of printing, multiple copies of these records were printed as proceeding of each government department. Now next is surveys become important. Surveys became very important for the British because the British believed that a country had to be properly known before it could be administered. Now, that's why they started surveys. The practice of surveying also became common under the colonial administration. By the early 19th century, detailed surveys were being carried out to map the entire country. What kind of surveys they did? Revenue surveys were conducted. Then the effort was to know the topography, the quality, the quality of the soil, the flora and fauna. These all the surveys were done. Then the population surveys were also done. Then what kind of religions are here? What kind of occupations mostly the people are doing? What kind of castes are present over here? Okay, so these all the surveys like botanical surveys, zoological surveys, archaeologist surveys, these all the surveys were done by the Britishers to know about the country. Now next is what official records do not tell. Whatsoever the official records they made, whatsoever the official records they kept, in those all the official records we did not get each and everything. So what those official records do not tell, that we will read about in this topic. As they were the official records, so they do not tell us about each and everything. They just told us about the things which the officials wanted, which the officials liked, what the officials thought, and what they were interested in. But these official records do not tell us about the people living in the country, that how were they felt, what lay behind their actions. For that, we need to look elsewhere. When we begin to search for these other resources, we find them in plenty, though they are more difficult to get than official records. We have diaries of people, accounts of pilgrims and travelers, autobiographies of important personalities, and popular booklets that were sold in the local bazaars. As printing spread, newspapers were published and issues were debated in public. Leaders and reformers wrote to spread their ideas, poets and novelists wrote to express their feelings. So, what did we read in this paragraph? What official records do not tell? All these are official records. These records do not always help us understand what other people in the country felt and what lay behind their actions. To know about these things, we have diaries of people, accounts of pilgrims and travelers, autobiographies of important personalities, etc. So, what do these official records tell us? They only tell us about the officials' interest, that what did they like, what did they want, what did they require. All these sources were produced by those who were literate. From these, we will not be able to understand how history was experienced and lived by tribals, the peasants, the workers in the mines, or the poor men on the streets. So, what did we read in this chapter? Here, your chapter is finished. So, what did we read about? We read about how the dates are important. Are the dates important or not? If the dates are important, then how are they important? Okay. Then we read about the colonialism. Fine. Afterwards, we read about how do we periodize, that how the history was divided into different periods. Then what is colonial? That basically what was the colonial? Colonial is a period when Europeans captured other countries. Afterwards, we read about the records which were maintained by the Britishers. Then what official records do not tell. So here your chapter number 1 of history is finished. Tomorrow we will take the questions and answers of NCERT.